In this episode, we cover how the largest stamp dealership in the world is coming to Vivi. What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name is Josh, and on today's episode, we're talking about stamps. We started with USPS on the platform, we were then introduced to New Zealand Post, and now we have Stanley Gibbons coming to Vivi. So we're going to talk about who they are, what they do, as well as all the details for the upcoming drop happening on Vivi. So as always, grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, first off, who exactly is Stanley Gibbons? Well, for those who have never heard the name, they are the name in stamp collecting. In their words, they're the world's largest stamp dealership, and they've been around since 1856. That's over 160 years. So these guys are pretty much the OGs of rare stamps. They curate and they sell some of the most valuable postage ever printed. And in this case, we're talking about stamps worth millions of dollars. Now, Stanley Gibbons isn't just a random stamp dealer. They're actually an institution. They've set the gold standard for stamp collecting by offering expertise and authentication, and this allows collectors to really know that they're getting the real deal. So for all kinds of collectors, from your casual to hardcore enthusiasts, Stanley Gibbons is like the Ferrari of stamps. So if you're into collectibles, it's a name you should know, and if you never heard of it before, hopefully today's video helps you out. So what exactly does Stanley Gibbons do? They're almost like historians, curators, and then like treasure hunters all piled into one. So first off, they have this incredible archive of rare stamps, some of which are actually practically like national treasures. In fact, one of their most famous pieces is a British Guiana 1 cent magenta, which is literally the rarest stamp in the world. It was last sold for $8.3 million. Now, like I said, they've got more than just stamps. They have entire catalogs, books, and exhibitions dedicated to the art of stamp collecting. And their collection has pretty much gotten to a point where it's become so rare that people from all over the world come to see it. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with Vivi? Well, Vivi did announce a partnership with Stanley Gibbons to bring some of their physical stamps in digital format to the platform. They're also introducing a phygital component as well, which we are going to talk about. Pretty much imagine a world where Stanley Gibbons, the king of rare stamps, teams up with a Vivi to create digital versions of those rare stamps. So it's kind of what they've already done with Marvel for super rare comics, like Marvel Comics #1, the first ever Marvel comic. This time around, they're doing it with Stanley Gibbons for stamps, with, for example, the Penny Black, which is the world's first postage stamp. Now, why exactly does the partnership make sense? Well, on top of, other licensors like USPS and New Zealand Post already being on the platform, which only makes Stanley Gibbons fit in that much more, both companies, Stanley Gibbons and Vivi, are pioneers in their own worlds. So Stanley Gibbons represents the traditional historical side of collecting, something that stood the test of time. Meanwhile, you have Vivi, who's pushing collectibles into the future, right? Turning digital art, comics, even cars into digital assets. Or in their words, must-have digital collectibles. They really like that term, must-have. What's really interesting about this partnership, though, is that Stanley Gibbons is a dealership. They offer stamps from all around the world, which we will take a look at. So this is not USPS being limited to just US postage stamps, or New Zealand being limited to just New Zealand postage stamps. In a way, this is a bit of a game changer for stamp collectors. On one hand, you have your hardcore stamp collectors like David, who's been doing this for decades. But then on the other hand, you have, the new wave of digital collectors like myself, who was actually introduced to stamp collecting through Vivi. People who are a little bit more accustomed to NFTs or blockchain or AR. So in my opinion, this is a partnership that merges those two worlds perfectly together. So diving into more history about the company, Stanley Gibbons was founded in 1856 when he opened a stamp counter within his family's pharmacy in Plymouth. In 1865, the first Stanley Gibbons stamp catalog is published, a penny price list that ran until 1879. In 1872, Albert Henry Baldwin establishes his numismatic trading business. In 1890, the first issue of Stanley Gibbons' monthly stamp magazine is published, and well over 100 years later, it's still the leading magazine. In 1900, the first Baldwin & Sons numismatic shop opens on Duncannon Street. In 1901, the first lot of a newly opened Stanley Gibbons auction house goes under the hammer. In 1914, King George V awards Stanley Gibbons the Royal Warrant for Stamp Services. Later in 1956, Queen Elizabeth II would grant her Royal Warrant to Stanley Gibbons. In 1971, Queen Elizabeth II presents Stanley Gibbons with the Queen's Award to Industry for Export. In 1998, the 100th edition of the Part 1, the Premier Stamp Collector's Catalog, was published, and it's still a world leader today. In 2010, Stanley Gibbons breaks the Guinness World Record for the largest envelope at the London 2010 International Stamp Exhibition. It was 32 by 23 feet long. In 2012, Baldwin's auctions the Prospero collection containing the Panticopian gold stater, which sells for $2.25 million, a world record for an ancient coin. In 2015, a complete sheet of Chinese monkey stamps goes under the hammer at a Stanley Gibbons auction, and it sells for an in-house record of 109,250 pounds at the time. In 2019, Baldwin sets a new world record for a British coin sold at auction when a 1703 Vigo closed at just over $1 million. And lastly, in 2020, the Stanley Gibbons Group opens the doors on its brand new store, auction, and exhibition space. Now heading over to their website here, at the top under collecting stamps, you're gonna have a tab called Iconic Stamps. So clicking on that, we're gonna see the very first one being the Penny Black, also the stamp dropping on Vivi. So we will get into this one in a moment here. But on top of that, and other stamps we could see in the future, we have the 5-pound orange. We did read through these on stream yesterday, but if you guys do want to check these out on your own time, I will leave the link in the description. On top of that, we have the Seahorse High Values, one of the most iconic British stamps to date. We have the Postal Union Congress, Britain's second ever commemorative stamp. We're also going to have the 4 Annas, a stamp like no other. We were reading on stream about how the ink colors are pressed separately and at different times. So the red gets pressed and dried, and then the blue face gets pressed on afterwards. We're also going to have the Camel Postman, one of my favorites just because of the color, but featuring a friendly local. And last but not least, the 5 Shillings Penguin, a pictorial design showcasing the life and history of the Falkland Islands. So I don't know about you guys, but I am hoping to see some of these other iconic stamps, in Stanley Gibbons' words, come to Vivi, in addition to the Penny Black. But speaking of which, let's dive into the drop details. All right, so heading over to the Medium article here, it reads, the Penny Black is one of the most significant inventions in human history. It's hard to believe today, but this piece of adhesive paper launched in 1840 and featuring the profile of Queen Victoria ushered in the age of mass communication. It allowed people from all walks of life to correspond with others across the United Kingdom. Prior to its invention, only the very wealthy could afford to exchange letters using messengers employed by the king, the church, or the universities. Incredibly, it was the recipient who had to pay for the delivery. Interesting. But we are going to have different rarities here. So starting with the common, it's going to be dropping for a list price of 10 gems, 4,058 editions. The second one is going to be a rare with 2,840 editions. Third one, an ultra rare with 1,840 editions. And last but not least, we have the Seeker Rare, which is also going to be the one that if you land it on the drop, not buy it in the market, you are going to qualify for the physical, which is right here. Okay. Now it does say concept only on screen, but I did actually end up finding the physical in a video, and it's a video that Stanley Gibbons actually just posted one day ago. So check this out. Now, if you guys haven't noticed already, this is actually the individual who presented the Penny Black in Vivi's video. And I believe they dropped this video to kind of help further promote what's happening on Vivi. So in the bottom right hand side there, you guys can see the actual physical 1 of 150 Penny Blacks that somebody is going to be getting if they land the secret rare on drop. Now, it's not the first time that Vivi's shown us a concept. We did see a concept for the Carnage collectible, but that actually ended up being pretty much a 1-to-1 version of the final model. And it kind of looks like the same thing's happening here. That physical stamp looks exactly like the concept they showed us. So that's what I'm expecting. And I thought I'd just share that little teaser with you guys. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you guys going to be going for this drop or not? Are you guys going to be spending MCP points? My answers to those questions are yes and then no. Yes, I am going to be going for it, but probably not spending MCP. To any team members watching this video, I just want to say congratulations. What a great partnership, and just considering where David started, I'm sure it's kind of like a full circle moment for him. So fantastic news, and I can't wait to see what Stanley Gibbons brings in the future. Ladies and gents, that is going to conclude today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed. If you didn't know about Stanley Gibbons, now you do. We talked about who they are, what they do, some other stamps we could potentially see in the future, and all the details associated with the upcoming drop on Vivi. Now, this wasn't the only large announcement that happened this past week. Vivi has a new member on the team, and we're going to be talking all about it in our next episode. So stay tuned. But if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. And as for our next, I'll catch you then.